This next startup started as a bunch of students having fun. How many of you are students in the room? Any students? Yes. All right. Inspiration for the students. Two student accommodation apartments in 1997. It was play and work at the same time, and that's the culture that's helping this company to persist and to prosper. We're very fortunate to have the CTO and co-founder of this company here. Now, for non-techies like myself, this is what it is. They make software for digital commerce. For techies in the room, I don't know what these words are that I'm about to say, but maybe you do. It's enterprise, multi-channel, e-commerce, and product content management software. Does that make sense to somebody? Okay, a few people that made sense. Excellent. Can we please put our hands together for Moritz Zimmermann? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to be here. Actually, who's Hybris? Yes, we're actually from Munich. And being first a startup entrepreneur myself, and second, an angel investor who's deeply passionate about technology, I'm like super thrilled to see the startup world coming together here in my hometown. So it's a really fantastic event. Happy to be here. I'm going to talk to you today about three things. One is that there's this wave of digital disruption going on that's changing the shape of many industries. And you, if you're technology founders, you're actually at the forefront of making that happen. And two, with that, there's something new happening as well. There's a space opening up that we call the API economy. And with that API economy, there's also a new software design paradigm coming into play, something called microservices as the underlying architecture underpinning that. And then three, probably most interesting for you, is how can a big company such as SAP Hybris help you in fueling your growth if you are a startup that has something to do with customer-facing software with the API economy. But first, let me take you a little bit on a ride about our story, how we started in '97 with our little company, Hybris. It probably helps to go back to '97. This is a time, there was no euro. That was a time before Amazon came to Germany. Google did not exist. If you had a smartphone, they weren't really smart, the phones. They looked more like a dog's bone, and they had a massive antenna attached to it. And if you had one, your friends would probably call you a poser. Apple, everybody knows Apple. In '97, Apple was a manufacturer of overpriced personal computers and in deep financial trouble. So that was the time. We were really young. And by the way, I would say it's a great time to start a startup when you're young, when you're in university or right out of university, because your opportunity cost is actually very, very low. You don't have a mortgage on your house. You're not used to driving a big car or going on holiday in an expensive hotel 3-4 times a year. So that's how we did it. And in '97, the web was still mostly static. It was almost like you take brochures and you put them into HTML on the website. That's basically how it was. Sounds a little strange these days. And my co-founder and I, we were really thrilled when we actually saw the first dynamic web technology coming us. We were convinced this is a massive wave that's hitting us. And boy, I think we were right. The internet's become quite big. And so we were brainstorming and thinking, what could we do with that? And for us, pretty soon it was clear, OK, we want to build an e-commerce software, an online shop software where everybody can actually build an online store with. So we got started. And as with any good startup, there's only two ways you can really proper do a startup. One is in a garage, or the other one is in a student dorm. For us, it was the latter. And I must say, one of the key lessons learned there, that's also what I tell all the entrepreneurs where I give a little bit of advice, is don't invest too much in expensive offices and buy expensive, funky furniture and those kind of things. It will actually not make you successful. It will probably even impair your chances of success because it transports a little bit of a false feeling of, yeah, we made it. We're sitting here at this fancy conference room and everything's great. It really is not. It may actually, you may make the wrong decisions and you're loosening the pressure of actually delivering some real value. So The internet back then was mostly hype. There was very little substance still. We went to the first trade shows. We built our product. We sold it quite successfully to a few companies. And in 2000 was the time of the big IPOs. Everybody went public on the NASDAQ or here in Germany on the Neue Markt. And so we had grown quite a bit more professional. You can see it in the little photo in the middle, wearing suits, and we were hell-bent on doing it the same thing and bringing our company public. We had about 50 employees. We did 2 million euros in revenue, but it was not to be because the bubble burst in 2001, and we were basically running out of funding. Funds got closed, businesses shut down. We had to fire quite a lot of people. We had 2 weeks of money left in the bank, and everywhere we turned to for somebody to give us extra funding, we got turned down. Everybody said, no, we can't do it. With the second attempt, with actually a business angel, finally worked, and he said, okay, this company deserves to be funded, but he gave us a little lesson in economics. He drew 2 lines on a chart. One was revenue, and the other one is cost. The difference is normally called a profit. However, in our case, it was a loss. And so he said he's not willing to step in for all of that. So all the employees, we had to cut our salaries by 50%. But at least we got funding secured. So we were really happy. It was actually our Christmas party in 2001 when we got that funding secured. We were a little wrong because the crisis only had just started. It was literally nuclear winter. I do remember my dorm mate, he was betting that Amazon would go bust. Can't really work. They have no business model. All they do is burn money. Look at where they are today. But that was the zeitgeist back then. So, it was not just 1 year of crisis. It was 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, actually in another hand, 2006, 2007. Full year, 7 years of, firing more people, more salary cuts, still no money, only 2 weeks of visibility into, will the money last that you have on the bank. So how did we survive? I think the most important thing was actually building a unique culture. I think that's really, really important. Getting the people that fit to your culture. Actually, we hired from our friends or friends of friends because those were the only ones who wanted to work with us. We had nothing to offer, no career, no glamorous funding, not big customers. So the only people that were actually only daring to work with us were people that somehow knew us or were somewhat crazy like we were. And so that worked. Somehow these guys stuck around. And at some point, we also made them entrepreneurs. We also gave all of them shares because what else could we do? We couldn't ask them for yet another salary cut on a measly salary already. So they stuck with us, a core team of about 30 people. And then suddenly in 2007, 2008, the market picked up. This e-commerce topic was growing, and it was growing faster than we ever had thought it would. And at the same time, we not only had a good product, but we also figured out sales. And so we were ready to ride that wave, and so we did. We built it up in the next couple of years to become an international market leader in the category with about 1,200 employees, with over 1,000 customers. And so there you are. Then you build a unicorn, you build a great business. What do? Sell out? Buy a yacht or something? Travel the world? We decided to do something different. Although we were just literally 2 weeks away from doing an IPO, at the end, we took an offer from another big German company, SAP, because the opportunity there that opened up for us to build something even bigger was really what convinced us. So basically, that's how I ended up working for SAP. SAP Hybris is now the biggest growth market for SAP. It's everything that is focusing on customer-facing software. So it's commerce, it's marketing, sales, and service. And it's a suite of end-to-end cloud applications that we call the simplified front office that we've built in the last 3 years since we're at SAP. We're marketing all this under the brand of SAP Hybris. And while we were busy building our company, something else happened as well. In the early days, when you looked around for who were the biggest, most successful companies on the planet, it was either big oil or big retail. Occasionally, one tech startup called Microsoft managed to break into the top rankings of the most valuable companies on the planet. But more recently, something has changed. If you look around, the most valuable companies, it's Apple, it's Google Alphabet, it's Microsoft, it's Amazon. They're all tech companies. So what's changed? Well, it's this thing here. It's digital disruption. These companies have innovated on the digital side. They have improved and disrupted or created new business models, and that made them poster childs of the digital disruption. Now you, of course, as tech entrepreneurs, you know that. You're on the forefront of that. But it's not only happening in startups. The analysts from IDC say that in 2018, which is a mere 1.5 years away, 1/3 of the top companies in every industry will be disrupted by digitally transformed competitors. 1/3 in less than 1.5 years. So it's a dramatic change that's going on. And it's really about also digitizing the offering or digitizing the customer experience around your offering. And many of the old economy companies have trouble with that because if you're a big enterprise, you've always bought technology from an SAP or a Microsoft or an IBM to optimize some part of your business. Make a process more efficient, make it more cost-effective, make it cheaper, make it faster, all those kind of things. But now what's different is for the first time now, these companies actually have to create digital technology experiences around their products for the first time. And that's really making this change dramatic for them. Let me give you one example. There's a company called Mohawk. Does anybody know what they do? Raise your hands. Exactly as I expected. If you're not working interior design, you've never heard of them. I've purposely picked one of the most boring product companies categories on the world. What they're doing is they produce carpets. They produce floorings and tiles for your bathroom and like what you see here. And so I was talking to the management team at Mohawk, presenting our suite and our roadmap, and the CIO nodded approvingly. At the end, when I was done, he asked one question. He said, "Oh, this was all really interesting, but I'm really missing one thing. I think you're not putting enough emphasis on social network marketing and social commerce in your roadmap." I was like thinking, what? And this is like not Red Bull, this is not Coca-Cola. What does like a boring floor carpet manufacturer have to do with social marketing? And that's not what I said. I said, okay, well, this sounds interesting, so can you explain a little bit more? And he said, do you know the app House? Does anybody know the app House? Okay, I think some of you use it. Can highly recommend it. For those who don't, it's a little bit like Pinterest, but it's about renovating your house. And you can browse by room. You can say, I want to redo my bathroom, and it gives you certain styles. And you can say, I like clean modernist or I like Mediterranean. And then you can flip through hundreds and hundreds of beautifully designed photos for inspiration. And all of those are tagged with product information. So this faucet is from this company, the tiles are from that company. And immediately the penny dropped for me. Because this B2B company making carpets, in the past, they sold through retailers, and all they needed to worry about was, are we listed in the right stores? And then inside of the stores, are our carpets in the right areas and positioned well? And are the store associates trained in the right way so they know what is different about our carpets? All of this suddenly doesn't matter anymore because the customer comes into the store, rips out their iPhone, and says, I want this. Do you have it? And suddenly, a digital experience is what they need. And if you take it even further, probably the customer doesn't even need to go into the store anymore. Because why not take an API and plug it into the app so that they could execute their purchase right here on the iPhone and say, I want this tile, you have it, perfect, I want to buy it. And so here's one example, but you can actually transform this and transpose this across multiple different product categories. So if you take a car, for example, what's happening now is the car is getting decomposed into lots and lots of individual services. So you could take one for the car entertainment. You could take another one for the autopilot. Maybe another one for the laser light. And when you do that, you can also transform the way you pay for that. Rather than having to buy the whole thing at once, you could say, I'm actually only going to pay for the laser light, when I'm maybe in deep fog and I want to turn it on, and then I pay by the minute for using this capability. It's probably more of a stupid idea because there may be enough penny pinchers around that say, I don't want to pay the extra $1 and I'd rather risk hitting a tree in the fog. But you may be laughing there. I talked to the engineers at Porsche, and they said they're only one generation away on their engine to basically have this exact same physical engine powering all the different horsepower variations that they have of their cars. So then if you say, I'd like to have an extra 50 horsepower, all it basically takes is a digital purchase. You could do that even in an aftermarket situation, and a flip of the switch on the software side. And of course, Tesla is already doing that. The autopilot, you've probably read about it, or if you drive a Tesla, they basically give you a 60-day trial, and if you like it, then you pay for it afterwards. And built on that now, the car actually becomes a platform. And you can plug in all kinds of APIs. So for car entertainment, that's the obvious one. You can plug in a Spotify. Easy to do that. Or for autopilot, you can plug in an API from a service like Waze that gives you even better directions around traffic congestions. Or for a charging station, you plug in something from SolarCity. And so the car becomes a platform, and there's an ecosystem built around that. Now, if you are the VP of engineering, if you're the CTO of a startup, and you want to think about this API economy, then you're probably also wondering, how do I need to design my software? How do I need to build it? It needs to be modular, agile, easily integratable. And by now, I think there's a new sort of like convergence of thinking on an architecture to do exactly that. And it's called microservices. And if you are using microservices or heard of a microservice, quite a few. So question might be for those who are not using it, what is a microservice? Well, the answer is actually quite simple. It's bigger than a nanoservice, yet smaller than a milliservice. No, in all honesty, it's not. But it's really about creating an isolated functionality piece that is delivering one singular functionality, and it's accessible through a RESTful web service. That's basically the architecture. And you could use it to extend an existing offering, just like the example with the car, with the Tesla. Suddenly you have Waze in there, and you get better directions just by calling an API. Or you can build complete new products on this. Why would you do that? Well, there's some great examples of tech giants like Netflix and Amazon who've shown that they have a 75% increase of developer productivity by using this architecture. And so, for example, if you take services like here's a cart, here's a checkout, here's an order management, here's a payment service, well, you basically have a complete microservices-based commerce application. That's, by the way, what we did with our offering Commerce as a Service, or CaaS. And you can use that, for example, to plug it into the House app, in Mohawk's case, and enable an on-the-spot buying directly from a social network. So now with that, we've learned about microservices, we've learned a little bit about digital disruption. But coming back to my startup days, what was really the most difficult challenge in the 19 years that we did this? Was it finding product market fit? No, I don't think so. Was it finding funding? Incredibly hard, incredibly difficult, especially in times where our topic was not really in vogue. But still, it wasn't really the most difficult thing. The most difficult thing, I believe, for a B2B startup is actually enterprise sales. And for us, the first thing it means, you actually have to undergo a mind shift because it's a completely different animal than building a great product. So many startups are really great in engineering, but you need to actually hire completely different people. So for the first 3 years, we actually shied away from doing it. We just said, OK, let's find some partners. Let them do it. We don't want to do the sales thing. That didn't really work out that well. So at some point, then, you actually have to hire a direct sales force. And then you find these strange guys. They talk way more than you're comfortable with as an engineer, maybe. They talk way louder. And then, the guy sits in front of you, and he basically puts up his salary ask. And I'm saying, You want what? Like double like my salary? And he said, yeah, that's basically what I made in my last job, and I'm not going to settle with anything less. So they're like the highest paid people in the company. And they want to drive a big car, and then they produce silly expenses when they wine and dine the clients. And then you finally find them, because they're incredibly hard to find. And then it's still not guaranteeing your success, because the best product never wins. You may walk into a company with a great product, but they're not just interested in your innovation. They also want just as much investment security. They want you to be around in 5 years and 10 years. That's why they like to buy from companies like SAP and IBM and others. So really, really hard thing to get sales right. Now, wouldn't it be nice if you suddenly had access to a vast customer base of enterprise customers? If you're in this API economy, if you're building a service around the broader categories of digital commerce and digital marketing and sales and service, there is such an offering. At SAP Hybris, we basically created something that we call yas.io. That's also, by the way, the URL. And it is a microservices-based marketplace. And it's something that all of our customers have access to. And it's a platform where not only we can put in microservices, so we build all of our future products on this architectural paradigm on this platform, like, for example, the Commerce as a Service example. But we also open it up for partners. We open it up for startups like yourselves. So if you have a complementary service and you want to sell this to enterprise customers, we have about 50,000 large enterprise customers, and if you go down into the SME market, the German Mittelstand, it's over 250,000 enterprise customers. And all they need to do, if they want to sign up and use your service, is it's almost as easy as if you go to the App Store here on your Apple iPhone. You go there, you select something, you like it, maybe there's a 60-day trial, and afterwards, there's a billing component built in. So you can define what metrics do you want to like, whether it's API calls or users or whatever. We handle the complete billing for you as well, minus a little handling fee on our side. So why are we doing this? Well, we believe, like in the car example, with this digital disruption going so fast, it's not the best product that wins. It's actually the superior, the best ecosystem that wins. So we cannot guarantee that we always have the right answer for every challenge the customer has. So building a bigger ecosystem with you is literally our winning go-to-market strategy. So if this sounds interesting to you, I think there's 3 things that you could do. And actually, somebody took off the last slide. Interesting. Well, you can try it out, www.yas.io. You can play around with it. It's free. It's going to be launched commercially on the 26th of October. And of course, we're also there to talk to you. Looking forward to that. We have our stand downstairs, right in between the carousel and the Audi. Thanks, and looking forward to some interesting talk with you.